a good time to get off your seat as we welcome and greet a great friend, former NBA owner and GM, last name Babcock, first name Pete. Pete Babcock, welcome to the celebrity tournament of 32, the qualifying round. How are you?
I'm great, Avi. I can't quite get the enthusiasm meter up quite as high as yours, but it's fun to be part of it and just take in all your energy. I love it.
His appearance on the green room have always been entertaining and created a positive buzz. His energy is incredible, and there's no doubt that he has the stuff. Let's welcome in the multifaceted, multi-talented man, last name Bagwell, first name Buff. How are you, Marcus Bagwell?
What's up? What's up? What's going on?
Welcome to the green room, Marcus.
Brother, I know nothing else but to know what a green room truly is. A green room is somewhere where stars are waiting to be born, and I'm waiting to kick 31 people's asses tonight.
Look, Buff Bagwell is ready. A winner. Pete is a winner. Guys, you're looking at people who've excelled in their craft. I'm here for the ride. They've excelled in their craft. They're ready to win. I cannot wait for this. Pete Babcock, Buff Bagwell, we're going to start this thing off right now. Buff will get a topic that speaks to him. Pete will get a topic that speaks to him. If we're tied after one, we go to a wild card round. If we're tied after that and we go to a second and we're still tied, that means it's rare, but both advance. Let's see what happens. Guys, your votes in the comment section. All of you are going to be voting, and our judges in the back. Let's start off with topic number one. And guys, remember, can't pause for longer than 4 seconds. When you see that countdown clock pop up on the screen and it hits 0, you're done. Let's start things off. First topic will be for Buff Bagwell. We're going to talk Rocky. You know, there were only 2 Rocky films in the 80s. Rocky 3, in which Clubber Lang played Mr. T, and Thunderlips, played by Hulk Hogan. They were Rocky's adversaries. Then there was Rocky 4, Ivan Drago, played by Dolph Lundgren. He took it to Rocky Balboa. Buff, I'd like for you to make the case. And guys and gals, remember, when the competitor is actually debating, no one's going to say a word. I'll be off screen. His opponent won't say anything either. We're just going to give him the time to do so. When that countdown clock hits, 20 seconds. Buff, I'd like for you to make the case for Rocky 3 as the superior Rocky film of the 80s. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
In a 3, in a 2, in a U.
The debate is very simple. Rocky's all from 1, 2, 3, 4 are the best movies in the entire world. It's winners that show that an underdog, underachiever can be an overachiever and be the world heavyweight champion. A guy that nobody believed in fought his way up to be the world heavyweight champion. And it's just such a story for the, to be an American, to show the flag and to go against, the Russian evil man of the country, the United States versus, Russia. It was Drago versus Rocky, and how at the end, how he made, the boxing match about 2 countries. He made, if he can get along with Drago, then why can't 2 countries get along? And that's what made that movie so great, was they showed not only a wrestling match being great, he showed how 2 countries could get along and live this life forever and be happy and not try to blow each other up and be successful together. And that's how Rocky is one of the best movies of all time. One of the best, absolute best things I've ever seen.
There you go, guys. If you make your point before the countdown clock, you're good. You can decide when you made your point. Buff made some great points right there. You can't vote just yet, because now Pete Babcock has to make a case for Rocky 4 being the superior film to Rocky number 3. Are you ready, Pete?
I'm ready.
In a 3, in a 2, in a U.
Well, in Rocky 4, where else is there a movie that takes on as many storylines as Rocky 4 does? Here you have an older athlete in Rocky who comes back, reclaims his title, and now he's going to retire peacefully to his home with his wife, Adrian. But then his good friend, Apollo Creed, is savagely beaten to death in the ring by Drago. And Rocky feels this sense of revenge. He has to stand up for his friend who has been beaten this way. And so now you've got him returning to the ring, training for this fight, even after he's retired as a successful athlete. And he's basically fighting artificial intelligence at that time, as close to it as you can get. This manufactured, synthetically built fighter, and he overcomes all the great technology that Drago has in his training to be able to win in a major way. So he's overcome so much, and you've got all these different storylines feeding into this one particular story. I don't know how you can beat that.
Made his point, guys. Pete made his point just as I was about to pull up the 20-second clock. Awesome, because you guys were both really thorough, and I want to bring this up too before we continue. Guys, you're looking at really two humble men who I speak to regularly, and they're awesome. These guys are class acts. They're entertainers, and they want to win this thing, but you're looking at class acts. Punctual, professional, doesn't get any better. That's what makes this an amazing tournament. When you think of pro wrestlers, when you think of professionals, when you think of professional storytellers, professional GMs, you think of the word pro. Right? Those three letters, P-R-O. You got some pros here. Guys, they made their pros. Will you make your cons? Let's find out right now with our judges. Now, you can vote as well. Everybody in the comment section, Darren, Mel Red, Johnny McKinney, Chad, everybody there, you guys can comment as well and let us know who you vote for and why. Of course, let's bring the judges in first and see which way they go. Starting with Jamie Sparling, who gets your vote and why?
Both were excellent. Mr. Bagwell brought up the point of the American struggle. Absolutely huge part of that series of movies. But the clashing of the storylines is what sold it for me. So I have to give this one to Pete Babcock. Excuse me.
Okay, Jamie Sparling votes for Pete. So we are on the board officially, guys and gals. On the board. 13 people have qualified. Will it be 14 or maybe even 15 in a few minutes? Jamie votes for Pete. That's 1-0. Let's bring in Gina.
Ooh, this is a hard one. Both of you gentlemen made really great points. As someone who ashamedly has not seen most of the Rocky movies, I know, I'm sorry. But it gives my judging abilities an interesting twist because since I haven't seen these movies, it was interesting.
Oh, you murdered me.
Did you just say you haven't seen Rocky? You haven't seen Rocky 3 or 4?
I mean, I really want to see Rocky 4 now. Because of the explanation that Pete Babcock gave, and because of that, that is who I'm going to vote for. I really got the feeling of the storylines and what was going on. It made me want to see it.
Okay, and my reaction made you want to see it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something to do with it. All right, we just started, guys. A long, long way to go. 2 points. Remember, Eric's votes are worth 6 because he won our first mini tournament, the Great Debate. Let's bring in Joe Rositano. Joe, who do you got and why?
So for the both of them, I really enjoyed arguments, and I like how each of them brought up like the American struggle. Then also for Pete Babcock, it was with the clashing storylines, but specifically for the passion that put into what goes into Rocky 3 and how that goes. I am going to go with Marcus for my choice. That's my vote.
Vote. Joe Rositano votes for Mr. Bagwell. It is 2-1. Let's bring in Miranda.
Hello, guys. How are you? Both of you did a very great job. You guys definitely know your Rockies for sure. I'm another one that has not seen most of the Rocky movies. Sorry to say that. But I'm going to go with Pete for this one because he talks about all the intertwining stories of Rocky 4 and also the artificial intelligence point. I really liked that. Makes me think that Rocky 4 is before its time, actually. So I want to see that. I'm going to go Pete.
Miranda votes Pete. It's 3-1. Let's bring in a familiar face, Mr. Brian Clark.
Hello, Marcus.
Hey.
How you doing, man? Mr. Babcock, nice to see you again. Nice to see you again. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Great points by both you guys. I'm going to have to go a slight edge to Pete just for the fact that he had just a little bit more information and maybe took a little bit more time on the clock. But just by a small amount, but great guy, great job by both you guys. Good stuff.
All right. Brian Clark votes for Pete Babcock just again by a slight edge. 4-1 right now as we stand. Look at this. Look who we got here. Bruff might remember this guy from a while back. Remember Howard Collado?
Hey, what's up?
Great to see you again, Mr. Bagwell. And
not only did Bagwell defeat you last time, Siri did. And Alexa. They both
and Alexa, yeah. Mm-hmm. I do remember that. I recall it very specifically. He called out, "Hey, Alexa."
No bias, Howard. No bias.
Nope. I will be objective. Okay. So I really do appreciate that Mr. Bagwell brought up the political overtones of the movie and how there was this kind of this transformation that happened with the fighters as well as the crowd in the arena. But I do also like, why do we care about this movie? We care about this movie at the end of the day because what pulls at our heartstrings. And it's the story of Carl Weathers, Apollo, really taking on, Rocky and training him and being part of his journey and losing that. So I like that Pete brought that up. Also like that Pete brought up the technology aspect, going up against that. And
I'd love it
so
if
I'm
you
going
bring up who you vote for. I'd love that.
I'm going to go with Mr. Babcock.
Babcock 5-1, guys. Eric, 6 points for your votes because you won a tournament already. Go ahead.
Ooh, 6 points on the line. Gentlemen, welcome to the green room. Welcome back to both of you. I love this. Outside of Avi Klein, I'm probably the biggest Rocky fan west of the Mississippi. So that being said, I loved both arguments. Pete Babcock, you had a lot of good points about Rocky IV. I love the America versus USSR debate. But in this instance, Buff's stuff was just enough to get him the 6 points because he argued about Rocky III. I love the aspect that he tied into the showmanship of the wrestling versus boxing. And Buff tied it into the whole series about being the underdog. So Marcus Bagwell gets the points.
Just like that, guys and gals, just like the in the 3-point contest, right? You've got the red, white, and blue ball. So Eric Heron bumps it up to 7. Buff is now in the lead, 7-5. Now we turn it over to you. The fun stuff begins because our viewers now will decide who wins this round. Now remember, whoever wins this round doesn't qualify yet. There's still another round. Pete Babcock has a topic as well. It is 7-5 right now. Pinocchio says Buff has the stuff. Bagwell for the win. So that's 8-5. This is Buff Bagwell's topic, guys. Marcus Bagwell's topic. This is about as close to a draw as possible. Pete Babcock's, that's 8-6. 8-6, according to Darren Redding. You guys, remember, are the engine that makes this thing go. Keep voting. I'm not going to pull up all your votes. I'll pull up as many as I can. Guys, Chad votes the Buffster. That's 9-6. 9-6. The people have spoken so far. 9-6. Mel votes for Pete. Makes it 9-7. 9-7. Julie says Marcus. That's 10-7. 10-7. Another Julie Hall says Pete Babcock. That's 10-8. Make that 10-9. It's really close right now. Scott votes Pete. Johnny McKinney makes it 11-9 in favor of Marcus Bagwell. 11-9. Fred Ottman says, great battle. Who won it, Fred? Who won it? Mindy Froley gives it to Buff. That's 12. 12-9. Votes are coming in left and right. Let's see if there's some more trickling down here. Phil, I don't see your vote. The Buff man, that's 13-9. Kate Hart makes it 14-9. 14-10 according to Trisha. Man, this is a close one, guys. 14-10. Phil makes it 15-10. I'm going to count down, guys. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Marcus Bagwell's in the lead right now, guys. In the lead. We have another topic now for Pete Babcock, and Buff will try to argue that as well. Pete needs to win this topic to stay live in the tournament, guys, in the qualifying round. Pete, I want to bring up your topic. A person's age plays a role in when they think the U.S. was at its peak. Baby boomers have a particular dim view of the present, for example. Take the 20s. The dawn of American consumerism, prohibition, made liquor illegal, but all the more fun to drink for a lot of people. Speakeasies, luxury cars, women's liberation, bathtubs, and a booming economy kept the country's mood on the up and up. Then you fast forward 30 years to the 50s. McCarthyism. It swept across the U.S. Capitalism was king, and America enjoyed a feeling of pride and security. Then you got the 80s. The 80s were a time when the future seemed bright for humanity as a whole, not just for America or the Western world. And despite the looming presence of the USSR, thanks to Rocky, he ended that, right? Dictatorships were falling like dominoes, and democracy and freedom was on a rise everywhere in the world. Countries that were stuck in dark ages for decades, if centuries, were starting to open and modernize. Pete Babcock, these are just some examples. I want you to make a case for a particular decade in either the 20th or 21st century as the greatest decade in the U.S. as you see it. You can choose the decade and explain why. When Pete is done, Marcus Bagwell as well will make a point for why or which decade he thinks was the greatest decade in U.S. history. He'll make his points why. Pete will start first. Gentlemen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Pete Babcock in a 3, in a 2, in a U.
Well, I'm gonna go with the 1950s, and although I I look at the 1950s as a black and white era where nothing was in color. And I don't mean this racially. I'm talking about just everything we saw seemed to be in black and white. And there was a sense of some stability, not great, but some stability in our country. Prosperity was coming back because of after World War II, the economy got back on track. Following the conflict in Korea, things were relatively calm. We had some political issues like McCarthyism, but it was a period of Eisenhower. I think a comfort level. You think about Leave It to Beaver. You think about Ozzie and Harriet. You think about Roy Rogers, Gene Autry. You think about all these shows that were somewhat upbeat, positive, Rin Tin Tin, all these crazy shows that we all watched religiously, and it just seemed like a calmer period, and which led into the 60s, which was one of the most turbulent decades in our existence and in our country's existence. But we have no decade that's ever been perfect, but I'm going to go with the 1950s.
1950s, guys, according to Pete Babcock, great points as well. Mr. Marcus Buff Bagwell will make his point for the greatest decade that he thinks we ever had in this country, in a 3, in a 2, in a U.
The best decade in this country's time ever, and of all choices, is the 80s, bro, the 1980s. The 80s was best in everything. Sports, music, TV, movies. The Rockies was due the 80s. The Raiders of the Lost Arks. Everything that was great happened in the 80s. The music, Motley Crue, Poison, Bon Jovi's. It was the best at everything. Sports got better with videos and having after went to the timeouts, and the timeouts went to the flags they would throw to show the instant replay. And instant replay would happen, which made sports better. TV shows were better. Pro wrestling was better because of TV. The 80s was just everything, with travel, with everything was just fun. When you went to places, the mighty dollar spoke. If you had money, whenever I wanted to get somewhere, I threw $100 out and I got the front row of anywhere I went. Reagan was the president. Reaganomics. Who didn't love Ronald Reagan? First day in office, he went over and saved the Iranians from our captive people. He got them back. Jimmy Carter tried to go over hostages. Thank you, Pete. The hostages, and Ronald Reagan got them back for us, and that was huge to get for Americans to have Reagan get our hostages back. So that was great. The 80s were fantastic, especially for Reagan running the whole show, man. Sports, TV, everything. Music, movies, everything was better in the 1980s. I loved it so much, man. It was the best.
Awesome, guys. Awesome. Pete and Marcus made some amazing points. Passionate, thorough, detailed. Can't ask for anything more. Before we turn it over to all of you, the engine that makes this entire thing go, in the comment section, let's bring in our astute panel of judges, starting with Jamie.
Child of the 80s, okay? That was absolutely, for me, the thing, and you argued it very, very well. So I have to give this one to Marcus Bagwell.
1-0 for Marcus, guys. Pete needs this one to tie, and if that happens, we go to a wild card round where it could be any topic. Let's bring in Gina.
Ooh, this one was a tough one. Gosh, you both made really great points. And Marcus, your passion behind what you were saying was really great. There was something about how, Pete, you gave your delivery and spoke about the 50s that really spoke to me. And then that little bit that pushed it over the edge was actually your great sportsmanship just now when you assisted your competitor. So I'm going to go with Pete for this one.
So Pete gets it, guys and gals. We are tied right now. Pete needs this again to keep things alive. Gina votes Pete. Let's bring in Miranda.
This was another close one. The 1980s was a great era, I will say that. And I loved your passion, Marcus. But I will go with Pete as well, because it's obvious he knows his history and the stability. Talking about the stability after World War II and the comfort level, Leave It to Beaver, all the amazing things about the 50s. I'm going to go with Pete.
Okay, so we got 2-1 right now in favor of Pete Babcock. Let's bring in Joe Rositano.
Having grown up on Ozzie and Harriet and Leave It to Beaver, I really appreciate that sense of kinship and the knowledge of it. Things were stable. At the same time, with Marcus, he also kind of went boom, boom, boom with some of his points. Like it was one after the other of several different items that happened, the travel and the almighty dollar. I'm going to go with Buff on this one.
Okay, so we're tied. It's 2-2 right now, guys. It is 2-2. Let's bring in Mr. Howard Collado.
I will be objective again. Pete really brought up about the prosperity and the comfort level. You know, I can appreciate those points, but Bagwell started and just kind of started machine gunning his points here, which is great. The music, the sports.
What are you writing? Can I see what you're writing? I want to see what you're writing.
Yeah, these are my.
What the hell are you writing? All right, go ahead. You
notes.
wrote all that?
And lastly, I will say, being in this competition, Bagwell got tripped up, but he kind of kept going. Great sportsmanship by Pete, but he kept going, and I can appreciate that. So I'm going to go with Marcus.
3-2, guys. Marcus Bagwell is in the lead. Let's bring in Big Brian Clark.
Wow, that was excellent by both you guys. Pete covered everything except the Korean War. I didn't hear anything about that. And Mark laying it all on line all through the 80s, me being a veteran and serving under Ronald Reagan, which to me, in my mind, the greatest president of all time. He covered from the rock music and how great sports in the 80s and the dominant teams. It's just amazing through the 80s. That was my decade also. So Mark gets my vote.
4-2, guys. 4-2. Now, again, Eric Herron, he was probably the reason why he turned around earlier because his votes are worth 6. Eric, let's see if you're going Pete or if you're going Marcus. 6 points will be attributed thanks to Eric. We'll find out how he votes now.
Man, you guys just don't make it easy on me, do you? I mean, both very eloquent speakers, both very passionate, both very intellectual and very knowledgeable about your topics. I have to give the slight edge here to Mr. Babcock, not only for the admitted assist to Mr. Bagwell with the hostages. That was classy of you, sir. I applaud that. But just your overall knowledge of the 1950s. It was America's last apple pie age. Family values, togetherness before everything went to hell in the 60s, which you touched upon. So definitely 6 points to Pete Babcock.
Beginning of the Celtics dynasty. 6 points, guys and gals. So right now we have, I believe it was 4. Am I right to say it was 4-2?
It was 4-2. Now it is
8-4. 8-4. Bring Eric in the back. 8-4. 8-4, guys. 8-4. Pete Babcock is in the lead. Let's see who we got right now. Connor says, agree with Joe. Give it to Buff. 8-5, 8-5, 8-5, 8-5. Let's see what you guys got. 8-5. Tough decision going to Pete Babcock, so that's 9-5. 9-5. Yes, it has been a great debate. 9-5 is where we're at. Make that 9-6 according to Chad. It is 9-6. 10-6. Pete is up 10-6 as Phil votes for Pete. Darren says going to go with Pete on this one. 11-6. 11-6. You guys are so amazingly consistent with how quick you're voting as well. You guys are absorbing so much. We appreciate that. 11-6, William Wilson votes for Buff, who had the stuff. What do you mean past tense? Still does. 11-7, 11-7. Mindy Red votes for Marcus, 11-8. Mindy Furley votes for Marcus, 11-9. Johnny votes for Marcus, 11-10. We are getting close. Man, these 2 rounds have been incredible. Let's see some more votes as they trickle down. 11-10. As it stands, Pete up by 1. It is now tied, thanks to Karen Price. 11-11. Pete for me. 12-11, Pete. Pete Sharpie goes for Marcus, so it's 12-12. We are tied again, back and forth. Kate goes Pete Babcock, so Pete is up 13-12. 13-12. LeJan goes Pete Babcock, 14-12. Roger goes Mr. Bagwell. That's 14-13. Pete up by 1. Got to go with Buff. 14-14 again. We are tied 14-14. Jeez Louise. We are tied now at 14, guys and gals. Let's see what else we got. Pete is up by 1. Pete is up by 1 right now. 15-14, I believe. It's wild, guys. This is wild, and it's happening live. Pete. So Pete is up by 2. Caden Ray votes Marcus. Pete is up by 1. Hauser votes Pete, so Pete is up by 2. 2. Scott votes Buff. Buff's down by 1. Billy votes Buff. Putting all these votes up here so you guys can see, we are tied again. We are tied again in this round. I did get your vote for Buff, John. Absolutely. You guys are tied. More votes coming in right now. I see them trickling in live. Guys, Pete needs this, but Buff and Pete have been going at it incredibly well here. Any person's game, there's no doubt. Let's see what we got, guys. A couple more votes. Looks like I got one more vote. We'll make the next vote be the one that is the defining factor. Guys, Pete Babcock or Buff Bagwell. We're waiting for one more vote to determine it all. Pete Babcock wins this round, guys, and tie things up. We are tied at 1. We are going wild card. Pete, still in this thing, and you're doing great, and so is Buff Bagwell. Wild card round. I could see that you guys both essentially know that right now it's on the line. If you tie in the wild card round, you guys will both advance. That's how it's going to work.
Do I get to vote at all?
Yes. No.
Well, I
don't know.
No. Well, Buff. I was going to give you a vote.
I was going to give you one for giving me the hostages.
Wait a minute. Why would you do that? Then you're out of here, Pete.
Well, because
all
Buff
week Pete in the war room has been telling me he wants to win this entire thing.
I do want to win this, but Buff reminded me when he started talking about the 80s. I was in my office in Denver when I was with the Denver Nuggets in McNichols Arena, and the door to my office opens up, and it's a guy named Randy Savage, Macho Man. He wanted to know if I could let him in the weight room to pump up before he went out. so I walked him down to the weight room, opened it up for him, and spent about 30 minutes with him. Nice guy. We had a nice conversation before he went out, but he wanted to get all pumped up before he went out.
That's it.
When you said that, I'd forgotten all about that story, and all of a sudden went, boom, I remember this.
I love that. I really do. And again, Pete Babcock, Bob Marcus, I know you have ties with Georgia, of course. Pete Babcock, GM of the Atlanta Hawks for so many years. And again, Pete, just to let you know about Marcus as well, one of the best in his profession, without question. The man had it from day number 1. So you guys both were so well in your field. Bagwell, you were in the Georgia Dome many a times.
Oh, many times. And I'm sure you know Dominique Wilkins, bro.
I know Dominique. I was with him. This is a long story, but I traded him. But anyway, we can get into that later. But that whole story. We're still friends. I see him a couple times every year. We're still friends. Yeah. 13 years tied with the Hawks.
I want to show you guys what you're doing here because you guys are class personified. Check this out. Love both guys. Always a huge Hawks fan. Great battle so far. Man, what a great story. Love the energy. Class personified here. Classmanship. True sportsmanship from Darren Redding. You're seeing it, guys. But right now, game face is on because we're talking wild card. It could be anything. It could be something serious. It could be something a little not so serious. Who knows? I'm a big breakfast guy. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner sometimes. It doesn't matter what time of the day or night. So what we're going to do is talk about morning breakfast. We're going to do eggs over easy versus omelets. Buff, I want you to make the case for an omelet. An omelet as the ideal breakfast when eggs are the point of emphasis. And when you're done, Pete, you're going to make a point for why eggs over easy is the ideal breakfast when eggs are the point of emphasis. So Marcus is making the point for omelets. Pete's making the points for eggs over easy. Marcus will be going first. Are you ready, my friend?
Yes.
In a 3, in a 2, in a...
For starters, eggs alone are one of the best proteins there is. With an omelet, you get many more eggs that you whipped up, so you got a much more of food that you think you're getting in, but it's because it fills you up more because they whip it. And at the same time, you can get more eggs into an omelet for a bodybuilder or for a person that's trying to be healthy with his protein intake a day, like I have been in my life, like athletes are. And it's just very important to get your protein in no matter what you're trying to do. And with eggs, it's the #1 source, one of the best sources there is. And an omelet, much easier to do. You can put steak in it, you can put chicken, you can put tomato, you can have salsa on it. You can scramble it up and put it all together and make it an omelet. With the eggs over easy, it's too neat and too much trouble. When you're wanting something to eat, you want it now. And with eggs, you can pour it in a bowl, whether it's the liquid egg whites or whether it's liquid eggs. You whip them up, you put meat in them, you put like I said, salsa, cheese, ham, sausage. The whole thing goes together. And it makes a great meal, and it's low fat and it's high protein, and it's just so easy to do. You ain't got to put oil in it. You can put Pam and make it real easy. So it's a nonstick. You can flip it. You can scramble it. It's easy to eat. It's very eatable because the other eggs, they mash and the egg runs everywhere. It gets messy. I know people like to dip their toast in it, but that's losers. People that don't dip their toast, they're trying to get big like me. That's protein intake. And the most protein is in an omelet. Easy to eat. A lot of things you can do with it. Otherwise, it just makes your meal look better. It's bigger on the plate. It's more calories. You get more full from it. It's a better tasting breakfast. It's just one of the best ways to do eggs, period.
You saw it last week, guys. Rick Barry and Dakin Matthews and how much they wanted it. Jeremy London and Fred Ottman. You're seeing it here again with what a way to open things up, man. A wild card round, the passion right now. I could feel it all the way here in Jersey. Also, I can feel other stuff outside in Jersey, which I'm not going to talk about. That is censored because it's Jersey. Guys and gals, Pete Babcock has to make a point for eggs over easy being the ideal breakfast when eggs are involved. Are you ready, my friend?
I'm ready.
In a 3, in a 2, in a U.
Okay. Buff actually made a couple of my points for me. First of all, there's so much stuff in an omelet, you don't know what you're eating. So you're not really sure. You can put all kinds of stuff in it, but it gets to the point where it's no longer just eggs. It could be a cornucopia of 100 different things. The other point is there's too many calories. It's good for protein, but if you're eating the eggs themselves, well, you know you're getting the protein. You don't know what else is in there when you're in the omelet. But when you have the egg, I'm one of those losers who likes to dip my toast in the egg yolk, and so I like mine over easy with toast and with maybe an English muffin. And I know exactly what I'm eating. I can see it's eggs. It's not a cornucopia of a mishmash of who knows what. And so I can identify the food that I'm eating. So those would be my points, and it's fewer calories. So I rest my case.
Guys and gals, things are tied up. This was the wild card round. Who will win? Who will advance? Let's find out now, because there are no more rounds between Mr. Marcus Bagwell and Mr. Pete Babcock. Guys and gals, this is a taste of what you get on the TKN Network, which goes public real soon. 50 shows, the great debate, the grand debate, celebrity tournament, the lake. We got it all. So let's bring in our astute panel of judges, starting with Mr. Sparling. Who do you vote for and why?
I am an omelet man. But tomorrow I'm going to be one of those losers that's dipping the toast because it just sounds so good. So I got to give this one to Pete Babcock just for the dip and the use of the word cornucopia.
Yeah, but Marcus really emphasized the word dip really well too. I like that.
It did.
I would be guilty voting for anything in favor of the word dip. Let's bring in Miranda to see how she votes.
This is great. I am also a loser that loves eggs over easy too, with the English muffin especially. But I'm going to give this one to Marcus just because he had a lot of different points with the convenience of the omelet, the protein factor, and also that you can do so much with it. So, Marcus.
There you go. So we're 1-1, guys. Really kind of a reoccurring theme here in this matchup as we seem to be tied back and forth. Joe Ricitano, who you vote for and why?
I love omelets. They're fantastic. They're good to have everything that you want in them. But as everyone has said so far, and I agree, whenever I get my hash browns on the side and I get my toast, I'm always dipping that toast in that egg. So I'm going to go with Pete in this one. He's got my vote.
2-1. Who would have thought that a dip would be so important in this tournament? 2-1. Let's bring in Gina.
Yeah, I'm a dipper too. It's true, often. However, I do also like to scramble my duck eggs. That's a whole other thing. But I think that overall, the passion and the kind of all the different options that you gave, I'm gonna have to go with Marcus Bagwell for this one because you brought up all the points of all the different things you can put in it. But an omelet can literally just be a scrambled egg folded over itself as well. So I think, Marcus, you got it for this one. Passion, details, everything was there. But I'm still a dipper, so.
Still a dipper. Despite that, it's 2-2. We are tied at 2 right now. Let's bring in Mr. Criado.
I feel like the only thing that should ever be dipped is a chocolate chip cookie in milk, and when you're dancing with someone. But
thank you for showing up, Howard Collado. It is 2-2. I don't know what that last point means, but go ahead. Go ahead. Chocolate milk, and what was the last one? Dancing with someone?
Yeah, when you dip your.
How would you know what it's like to dance with anyone, Howard Collado?
I would surprise you, wouldn't I? I do like a lot of the variations and options that Marcus did bring up, so I'm going to go with. This was hard though. Both men did great argument. I'm going to go with Marcus. Great judges too, bringing up good points, guys. Good points. They're 3-2 right now. Let's turn it over to Mr. Brian Clark.
Another great battle, guys. Pete, really good points, but with Mark, hey, when he started talking about steak omelet and being able to put mushrooms, onions, anything you want on it, and then he really nailed me with the salsa. Because here in Arizona, I got to have my hot and spicy. So I'm going with Mark on this.
It is 4-2 now in favor of Mr. Bagwell. Eric Herron.
Man, well, aside from Brian's salsa comment, I don't know what they know about hot in Arizona. Come to Louisiana, we'll teach you about spice, son. And talking about dip, Southerners, that's a whole other thing. I actually liked both comments, and Avi, we haven't done this before. I haven't done this before. I've got 6 points to give, right?
Yeah.
Think I can split them?
No.
No?
No.
I want to, but okay. So what I will say is I don't like omelets. I don't like eggs over
Mr.
easy.
Bagwell is up 4-2.
I don't like either one of them. I'm a sunny side up kind of guy, but I think tomorrow morning I'm going to try an egg white omelet for the first time. So I'm going to give my points to Mark Bagwell.
Okay, so right now that's 6 points. So it's 10-2, guys and gals. 10-2. Let's see what we got. Is it insurmountable? Nothing is, but let's see. Who knows? 10-2 right now. You guys now are going to vote. We're going to turn over to you. 10-3, according to Karen. Okay. It is 10-3 right now. What a battle this is right now, guys. Just our first match. 2 others that we have as well. Mike Ferreira votes Buff. Okay. That's 11. Pete needs about 7 or 8 of these. Let's see, as now the votes are starting to come in. Karen, I got your vote for Pete already, so I counted that. Pete. Starting to trickle in. Scrolling up. Let's see what we got here. Phil goes for Pete. Okay, and you guys can let us know why as well if you want to. Feel free. If you want to do that, let us know. Reagan was great, but I think you voted for who? For Pete? Okay, that was the previous round. All right, Pete, according to LeJan Fields. Trisha votes for Pete. Guys, all of a sudden, it's a ball game here. It is a ball game. This thing is close. Let's keep scrolling. I got Pete. Okay, that's another one for Pete. My vote is for Pete, according to Mel Red. One more, and we're tied here. Pete is up by 1. Tied again, according to Johnny McKinney, just like that. Back and forth. What a comeback here. Marcus for me, so Marcus is up 1. Wow. More votes. Danielle Young. Pete. We're tied. Joe. Pete's up by 1. But then just like that, Darren goes for Marcus. So we're tied again. It's a back and forth affair, guys and gals. Back and forth. It is tied. More votes will dictate who wins. This is for all the marbles. Absolutely. Wow. You guys are incredible. Again, with your energy, and give it up for Pete and Marcus. I'm going to count 10. And if I go down to 0, this doesn't happen often. If I go down to 0, both of these men have been tied up for the last few minutes. If we go down to 0 and they're still tied, both Pete and Marcus advance officially to the tournament of 32. This is the qualifying round. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Everyone come in here and applaud these guys for tying things up. They now move over to round number 1 officially. They qualify. Give it up for Pete Babcock and Marcus Bagwell, who tied things up. Awesome stuff, guys.